Good evening. Welcome to tonight's Board of Zoning Appeals for May the 14th, 2025. Would you call the roll, please?
Kelly Cruz Nicholson.
Here.
Jeff Cook.
Here.
Nathan Sheets.
Here.
Rob Tidrow.
Here.
If anybody would stand, remove your hats, and recite the pledge with me, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In our packets, we received the minutes from the 4/23/25 meeting. If you would please make a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
A motion, a second to approve the minutes from the 4/23/25 meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You have proof of publication for tonight?
We do have a proof of publication with the caveat that one of the petitions, BZA number 9, 2025, was inadvertently advertised with the wrong or the incorrect topic, so that is going to be tabled at your motion in a little bit. But otherwise, for 6, 7, 8, and 10-2025 BZAs, this notice was published in advance. It states the time, date, place, and the items on the agenda for tonight's hearing. I would ask the board to, or the commission, to make a notice to accept the proof of publication.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve proof of publication with the exception of BZA 9, 2025. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I'm going to amend the agenda just a little bit and ask for BZA 9 to be tabled. Have a motion for that, please.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second to table BZA 9-2025, and we'll hear that next month. And then new business, BZA 6-2025, petition of Good News Habitat. We have an owner or agent to tell us about the project.
Good evening, I'm Joe Lockett with Alta Fiber. And if it's okay with you, I'll address all three variance requests, 6, 7, and 8 at one time.
That's fine, but we'll have to make individual votes.
Yeah, that's fine. Very good. So again, my name is Joe Lockett. I'm responsible for real estate with Alta Fiber. With me tonight are Mark Fonner, who's responsible for business development, and Tommy Smith, responsible for real estate management. Alta Fiber, formerly known as Cincinnati Bell, is a 150-year-old company. Been in Cincinnati for a long time. We're expanding as we transition to a high-speed internet provider. And our aim and goal is to go outside of the Cincinnati market and bring next-generation fiber optic communications to contiguous communities from Cincinnati, Richmond being one of them. Our tagline is that we connect people, businesses, and community, and that's something that we hold near and dear, certainly in Cincinnati, and hope to do that in the communities that we grow into. As we come to, on the next slide, please. Yes, sorry. And even one more. Forgive me. As we come to Richmond, our plans here are to bring high-speed internet to Richmond. The timeline for our build is from the years 2026 through 2028, serving approximately 17,500 homes and businesses. We'll likely do buried construction within the city limits, and we've been in conversations with the city for permit process and things like that as it relates to the build. And then typically the build would occur 120 days after the permits are submitted and approved. What matters to you all is this is 100% fiber-based network providing symmetrical speeds of 6 gigabytes upload and download. A vast improvement over what your community has today. And it would unlock basically a $25 million privately funded infrastructure investment in the city of Richmond. And studies have shown this supports economic development, competition, and consumer choice. The linchpin to us being able to do that is the approval of these variance requests so that we can build our facility here in Richmond. Next slide, if you would. Just to convey a little bit of the complication that we're running into and why we're requesting these variances. On the left, obviously, is your zoning map. You can see most of the downtown target area that we're looking is urban residential. The other map shows the fiber routes. And without going into too much detail, for the engineering that we've done, those are the fiber routes that are optimal for us, and we need to build a facility not too far removed from those fiber routes. And you'll see by the little green dot indicated there, yes, thank you. That's the target property that we are looking to acquire. Any questions on that before I move on?
I have none.
Okay. The point I would make here is that anywhere that we build along this fiber route is likely urban residential. So any property that we purchase, whether it's the one at 404 South 12th Street or anywhere else in the city of Richmond, we're likely going to be facing the same zoning requirements and going to need the same variance requests. If you'll go on to the next building. This building is what we built in Xenia. It is 36 feet long by 14 feet wide. It is a modular precast concrete structure withstands high-powered rifle shots, small explosives, totally self-contained, electromagnetic security entry into the facility. Pretty hard to mess with. We are proposing a building of this size at the most. We may go as small as a building that's 14 feet by 20 feet, but I wanted to show you kind of the biggest that we would propose. What's not pictured here, but is later in the deck, is a generator that we use for backup power in the event that we lose commercial electric. Next slide, please. Thanks. So as it relates to the variance request, there's 6-2025, which is a variance to approve our use as a telecom facility or a utility structure. 7-2025, which is to have an outdoor fuel tank for use of our generator. And then 8-2025, which is the structure size. The city requires a 900 square foot minimum dwelling. The building at its largest, as we propose now, is 504 square feet. If I take variance requests 6 and 8 together, the department review showed that there was no health or safety objections raised to the use, and the structure size. The department review indicated there were no objections raised. From a practical difficulty and hardship, we fully acknowledge there's nothing here. That if we were to purchase a property elsewhere, we could avoid a lot of these. But for the ease of our deployment and to reduce the cost, we need to build centrally, and so that's why we're targeting the central Richmond area. You may or may not be aware, but Frontier has a large facility between 8th and 9th Street on 8th Street. This small facility, basically, because it's fiber, is a much smaller footprint, provides all the functionality that Frontier facility does on 8th Street. And so, yes, there is no hardship, only the fact that for us to have our most economical deployment and make it viable for us, profitable for us to deploy here, we need to build centrally and not outside the downtown area. Tommy Smith worked with Sarah Mitchell at the Economic Development Corporation of Wayne County. We reviewed our needs with her, the fiber map that I shared earlier, and she agreed this location is no different than any other. There really aren't any other viable options. And so a location like the one that we've selected is probably the best option that we could have. For the finding of the facts, the write-up said that the approval of the variance was injurious. We don't hold that opinion, and I would contest that, it is a self-contained building. It has once the build is done, like once we put our facility in place, it has very low traffic, maybe 1 or 2 technicians per week for 15 to 30 minutes. It's not a high traffic. There are comments that it would impact the character of the neighborhood and raise safety and security concerns. We don't experience that. We own over 60 of these facilities in and around Cincinnati. We have very little vandalism. I think folks are afraid, like, if I mess with that, I'm really going to get into trouble. And so folks tend to stay away. And then as it relates to the Richmond Rising, your strategic vision talks about supporting economic development. The introduction of high-speed internet, fiber-based, is one of the best promoters for economic growth in the city. We would like to bring that to Richmond. And in a moment, I will, I'll look at the site plan. A couple options that we are certainly open to, and I would look, to your direction if you want to qualify the variance request. Clearly, if we get the variances tonight, then we'll apply for permit. We'll complete the sale of the property. We'll apply for the necessary building permits. But options that we are open to, certainly we can do beautification. We have added wrought iron fences to properties. We have added shrubbery and plantings. We have, we're open to suggestions on what you would like to do to make it a space that you would like that would work in the neighborhood. We could also reorient the building to give it a further setback from the street, and you'll see that on the next slide. And then, happy to donate the remainder of the property as a green space if that's of interest. And we also know that you have the Urban Tree Canopy Initiative. We're certainly willing to plant trees, whether it's on this property or you have a site designated just a few blocks east of this location. We're certainly happy to help support that effort. I would add, as the pictures indicate, the empty parcel is the one that we are looking at acquiring. That's the house that you see there is what's pictured next. I did drive by it this evening. It looks like it's in the process of being decommissioned or taken down. But I would argue our brick facade actually adds to the aesthetic. It's a good-looking building, and there's very little trouble with those. And then the other picture is just the view across the street. Again, I don't know that we detract from the aesthetics of the neighborhood. If you go to the next slide. This is our site plan, and it may be a little bit difficult to read, but it shows the 36 by 14 building with a 4-foot sidewalk around, a generator to the back with parking off the alley. We're 95 feet from the street frontage and have all the necessary offsets. Like I said, if we were to orient the building to rotate it 90 degrees, we would have an even further setback and could have more of a green space in front. And again, if you want to qualify the variance that we do some things to beautify the space, we can certainly do that. Any questions on that before I get to the next variance request?
Mr. President, I have a few questions.
I do as well. Go ahead.
You had mentioned the Frontier building.
Yes.
Between 8th and 9th, and that's on North A, right?
Yes.
And that's my understanding is that is the old telephone
Yeah.
hub of Richmond back when we had telephones, landlines, and so forth.
Right.
And it's in a commercial, it's in central business zone, right? I mean, it's kind of the hub of, just right off of there. So it's
Right.
not really in a housing area, correct?
Correct.
If I'm thinking of the same one.
Yes, you are.
Also, you talk about this being central to your fiber route, but even in the diagrams here, it's not even central to your diagrams. Can you explain that?
If you think about it, as we build to each address, so we're doing fiber to the home, it needs to be a relatively central location so that we're not doing long runs all across town. So yes, it may not be exactly, at the bullseye in the middle, but generally speaking, it's a centralized location which shortens our runs.
Okay. And why did you avoid, being in a central business area where, if I can ask, would the zoning work better in of the business area, or?
I think it would be an easier sell. Variance may still be necessary,
Okay,
but
right.
I think
Instead of in a
property
urban
would
area
be
where
better
there's
positioned.
homes and.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Some of that is due to, one, just the availability of property that, we have searched high and low for quite some time. So some is the availability. Others are zoning requirements requiring a minimum purchase of 3 acres, I think in industrial areas. I forget what it is for the central business. But some of those were not as appealing as doing a smaller property for the smaller footprint building.
Okay. That's all I have right now.
So I'm gonna tag on to your last statement, not as appealing and longer runs, lend back to economics on your side. Because fiber has no limit on length of run, right?
It has limits, yeah. 15 miles.
But 15 miles, if you were on the south side of Richmond, would cover every area in Richmond.
That's true, but I'm doing a long run from that remote location as opposed to short runs to, local neighborhoods if I'm centrally located.
But it still goes back to your economics. You can, but it costs more.
Yes, we can, but it raises the question of it being economically viable.
Sure. So, in your discussion, you said something about the generator running once a week?
No, the generator runs quarterly. What I said for once a week was technicians visiting the site.
Okay, I misunderstood.
Yeah.
Can I tag on? Will
Yeah.
you conduct a test on that, run it? Because I know with generators, you want to run a surety test and run it for a certain
Yes,
amount
we
of
do.
time and make sure everything's working correctly.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but yes, we do a quarterly run on our generators, and it's usually a 20 to 30-minute run during the workday, and
Every day, every week,
every quarter.
every quarter?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry.
You're fine. So, tagging on to the generator question, and I've got a little bit of experience with diesel generators. I've got several that I take care of. And there is the ability to sound attenuate those.
Yep.
So there's not much noise
Right.
10 feet away from them. We can have
Yeah.
the same conversation if they're sound attenuated.
Yeah.
Is your package sound attenuated?
It can be. That's not what's in our original design, but yes, it definitely can be. We don't deploy those regularly, but obviously we realize that we're in a residential area. We're more than happy to do that.
Is your quarterly test, is that on a schedule?
Yes.
And is it, midnight or noon?
It's
'Cause I'm
during the
sure that
workday.
some of the people
During the workday.
would have problems with that. Please, continue.
Yep, sure. All right, and then, last but not least, the next slide, if you would, as it relates to the belly tank. So this is a picture of the generator after it was installed at our Xenia location. It's a 60 kilowatt diesel, 639 gallon capacity. As far as the noise goes, the manufacturer specs are 74.6 decibels at 23 feet or 7 meters. The code here in Richmond is 70 decibels from the property line, which is 10 feet. So obviously, we would be exceeding that. To your point, Mr. Cook, if we were to attenuate the sound, that would address that. It is 40 feet to the nearest dwelling structure. And then, as I said, it's quarterly testing, 20 to 30 minutes. And then the generator would run anytime that there is a power outage. So when commercial electric is not available, then the generator does run. And then I can't control the hours. And you control the hours when it runs, but you probably have a better idea of power outages here in the city than I do.
So, another characteristics with diesels and belly tanks. I'm assuming that's a Cummins diesel, it looks like.
Correct.
And the belly tanks, double wall with leak detection, all that stuff.
Yep.
What about vibration? What's the neighbors gonna feel?
Nothing that I'm aware of. We've never had any complaints. I've never heard of that being an issue.
Just curious.
Yep.
Is, in your options versus having, a diesel belly tank, you have natural gas as an option?
Yes. Yep, so yes, we could do natural gas. We could do natural gas. We're not as much of a fan of that because we're still reliant then on another utility. And we don't have full control of the operation then. So in the freak event that you have, that you lose natural gas and you lose electric, then the facility is dead and folks aren't going to have service. I realize that's a very small risk, but it's definitely there. I would add for the departmental review.
Joe, can I add one, please?
Yeah, please.
My name's Mark Bonner.
Can you
Please
step
come to
up?
the mic and state your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name's Mark Bonner. I'm the Vice President of our Market Expansion Planning and Strategy at Alta Fiber. I live in Cincinnati, Ohio, 6890 Cambridge Grove Court, Cleves, Ohio. So the point I was going to make is, in addition to broadband internet, we also offer voice communication services as well as part of our suite of services which some folks like to have and bundle. So from a critical communications, 911, those types of things. Again, just to kind of add another point to Joe's point about diesel, it allows us to kind of run independent, and maintain those critical services, voice and internet, during those kind of outage situations. Thank you.
From the department review, there were no issues raised other than to place the generator from 10-foot property line. There was talk about risk of explosion. There is minimal risk to diesel exploding. It has a high flash point. It's not under pressure like propane is. It burns only at the surface level. It is not vaporized where it could combust like gasoline was. So that is a very minimal risk unless it was struck with an incendiary device, which is unlikely. And as you know, diesel is an ubiquitous use. So yes, we could do natural gas. As you mentioned, Mr. Cook, and then our other option is that we could have a bigger building and move the generator inside. Again, our preference is an outdoor use, but that is an option.
I have another question about the generator, Mr. President. If there's sometimes you'll get emergencies like alarm sounds from generators and so forth. And there's a sign on there that says, hey, if there's a loud noise going off, please call this number. Will that be part of the package, and how long is the response time to respond to that?
Yeah, we don't have audible alarms. We monitor it all via our network remotely, and so our network operations center get the alarm, and then we dispatch technicians or whoever needs to be dispatched to address that. So there should not be audible alarms that the neighbors are going to hear or anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
So if we were to approve the generator and move to natural gas, is that going to change the size? Natural gas is usually about 20% less than diesel as far as KW.
Yes, I mean, we have not deployed natural gas here in our Cincinnati market, so we would need to go. We know that it's viable, we know that it's doable, but I haven't sized it. But yes, that is my understanding as well, that we would be able to resize the generator down as a result of natural gas.
Looking at the picture, and you said it's similar with what you're proposing.
Correct.
It's going to be a Tier 1 pollution control, which is basically no control other than a muffler, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Is there any thought about going to Tier 4 where you have DEF and emission control?
Yes, if, we can certainly do that, yes.
So just so you guys know, I work at the hospital.
Yep.
And anytime I fire my generators, somebody says they smell it. And they probably do, because it depends on the way the wind blows.
Right.
You're in a residential neighborhood. You know, that's people with chronic diseases, chronic asthma, that kind of stuff. It could affect their health with that smell. So just thinking out loud.
Yeah, yeah. And the only reason, like, this is an atypical solution for us in terms of being this, you know, being in such an urban residential zone where you're more tightly packed. Generally, we try to find acre lots or more where there's more space, more breathing room, so to speak. So this is an exception. So, yes, while I am familiar with those, but I'm not necessarily, don't have all the details. But yes, we are definitely open to that.
So again, I'm leaning on my experience with diesel generators. Indiana has these lovely people called Indiana Department of Energy Management, Environmental Management, and Air Quality. Have you met those folks yet?
I have not.
You'll have to. You'll have to get an operating permit for that diesel generator, so. And the questions I'm asking you have been asked to me, and so I know where that kind of has to go.
Yeah.
Question?
Absolutely.
You've mentioned the test that happens and the frequency. Is there any additional staff presence other than the testing times, whether it's in the ramp up at the beginning or
So,
consistently? I mean, especially since you've mentioned that it is sort of a unique arsehole.
right. Yes, so, you know, the 3 to 6 months, so it's probably 3 months to get the building, to do the site prep and prepare the, you know, to set the building. And it's probably another 3 months where all of our network equipment is going in and, and people would be there daily installing the equipment and basically lighting the building up so that it can provide, service. Once that's done though, and the, you know, kind of the build out is complete, we anticipate typically our field technicians that are out, you know, doing installs or doing repair, they're visiting the site, you know, once or twice a week. And, you know, it's maybe 30 minutes. I mean, there's not a lot of traffic, but there is a regular presence there to be aware of, like, what's the condition of the facility.
Is there any additional surveillance? I know you said you monitor it remotely. Does that include like video surveillance?
Yes, especially for our more remote locations, we are installing video cameras, and as I mentioned earlier, it's all badge read access, badge and keypad to be able to enter the facility.
And I guess this has sort of already been answered a little bit, I think, but you used the Xenia site as an example. That's not an urban residential area, correct?
It is not, correct.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, that's on I think a 1.2 acre lot
Okay.
at Allison and Bellbrook Avenues.
One more. You mentioned that the possibility of like a deeper setback and the possibility of potentially donating green space. Is there a precedent for doing that in another location? In partnership with the city, or I don't know?
Yes, there's a precedent, and I mean, we have donated property before, so that's not unheard of. We haven't done it as part of our build. We've built in Middletown, Xenia, Blanchester, Mount Sterling, and a couple in other areas. We haven't donated property as we begin this expansion, but in the city of Cincinnati, we have definitely donated properties.
I do have one more question. In the process of identifying property for this purpose, how exhaustive was that process of looking for property?
It was pretty, I mean, we have a biweekly call with our broker, and they were cold calling folks where there was empty parcels. We were looking at listings regularly. It was we have looked pretty high and low.
And for how long, I guess?
Oh, gosh, when did we start that? 9 months ago? Yeah, I mean, I would say probably for a period of 6 months, we were exhaustively searching, and then we've landed on this property. We've entered into a purchase and sale agreement, and then we've been working through the site design and getting to this point.
Okay.
Can you go back to the picture of the brick building? On the end of the building are 2 HVAC units,
Yep.
correct? Mm-hmm. What's the noise level on when those are running? Because they're gonna run all the time, right?
Not all the time. They do have airside economizers, and they're 2-stage barred units. So, in the wintertime, they may not run. We may do airside economizing then. In the spring, maybe one of them is running. And typically it's only one unit running at a time, where we do N+1 redundancy. So it should be only one. I'm sorry, I don't have the specs at hand on the barred units, but they're not terribly loud.
Would you agree they're gonna be louder than a residential air conditioner behind a house?
Not significantly louder, if at all. No, we do deploy those barred units on huts in and around Cincinnati, and those are in neighborhoods in very close proximity to buildings or to homes, and we don't get, except for one lady, we don't get complaints about the HVAC units.
I have a comment.
Sure.
So, okay, so I know exactly where you're looking at. As a former council person for District 2, I'm in that area all the time. So where you're looking at and the families that are in that area, because like I said, I talk to these families, I go there all the time. With it being a residential area, and you're talking about making it offset a little farther back, so it's not as close, to the street. And you're talking about there may be a smaller building of which you could place it inside. Is that correct? Is that what you were saying?
No, if
'Cause I'm a little confused.
If we were to rotate the building so
Yes.
that we had an offset, so it's the offset from the street was further back, then we would reduce the size of the building so that call it max of 30 feet.
Okay,
So you would have, the lot width is 51 feet.
Right.
So you'd have your two 10-foot offsets, so you're 31 feet for a building. So, that would be our max size, but that would then allow us to come back another 20 feet or so off the street.
okay. Because I know one of the things that I talked with residents about in that area when I was on city council was improving the area, beautification, improving the houses that are around there, things like that. And I wonder, did you do any sort of a door-to-door to ask people what they may think of something like that being in their area? And I'm telling you, I've been there.
Yeah.
And so, so I'm curious to hear, because like you said, the one house that you drove by, you said it looks like it's kind of being deconstructed. And to be honest with you, I honestly thought that they were putting up boards to redo the home. So I don't know that it's coming.
The roof is off and
Yes,
there's a,
because there was a fire, right.
okay,
right.
all right.
So I'm not sure that so much that house is coming down, but I could see just myself and knowing some people in that area that potentially, you could have many complaints about what's, where it's being placed, the sound, even if they don't hear anything, you may hear something about that, So I'm just kind of putting it out there. When I saw your presentation, and I saw where the house was out, I was like, oh, okay. So, I think that if it were something that could be a little farther back off the street, I think that the fence and the beautification would be essential. I think it'd be necessary to mask it, so to speak. That's my 2 cents worth,
Right.
but, yeah, I had a lot of experience in that area, so I was just like, okay, all right,
Let us benefit from that.
well, you know,
Yeah. To answer your question, no, though, we did not canvass the neighborhood and ask people,
Yeah.
what do they think?
it kind of sounds, it sounds silly, but, you know, like I said, because I've talked to so many people, you know, it was my district for 14 years, like, you know, I just was curious as to whether you talked to 1 or 2 people. Did you talk to anyone at all that's in that area? Because they may have some strong opinions.
Right. Yeah.
That's
So,
it.
I'm sorry.
No, that's it. I'm just,
If you were to propose differently with the generator inside the enclosure of your building, how big would that building be?
It would add 8 feet, thereabouts. So it would, we would maintain the 14-foot width and extend by another 8 feet. We would probably shorten that 36-foot dimension so that we would be, I would hope within we would shorten the interior dimension so that we're about 36 feet. It gets hard to transport a building over 36 feet.
Sure. Well, where I was going, would it get over the 900 square feet
No, I don't.
to eliminate one of the variances that you're asking us to look at?
I don't believe so. Yeah.
Does it have to be prefab and transported?
As opposed to building on site? I mean, I guess technically no, but from ease of implementation we go with the precast, and then, we know what we have, and we know it's a secure building.
So when it shows up, it's ready to plug in and go, pretty much?
Plug in, sure. I mean, it comes with the racking installed, all the panels installed for, fire detection, security, whatnot. All the telecom equipment has to be installed. You have to connect commercial power, you have to connect the city water, and you have to do all the fiber tie-ins.
So that brings me to my, not probably last question, but there's a proposed water line. Is that for fire?
No, that's primarily to clean off the condensers for the barred units, just to the extent that there's pollen or anything like that, to be able to spray those down, and then.
We call it cottonwood here.
Pardon me?
Yeah.
Oh, and then just for the technicians, to the extent that, they need to rinse off hands or anything like that.
So it doesn't have to be an upsized line for fire protection.
No.
I'm just saying, if it was in a building and it was a little back off the street with some beautification,
Yep.
you'd probably have a lot less conversation about it.
Yeah,
Just letting you know, just put
Yeah.
it out there.
I have another question. This is for the city. Was this one of the lots that was just demolitioned during the urban blight program?
It is.
It
yes.
is.
And so Habitat for Humanity, or Good News Habitat for Humanity owns this now, right? Or they had owned it before?
The city
Or they-
transferred it to.
They transferred it to them, as opposed to, in some other areas, they have transferred those empty lots to the neighbors, who may have taken care of that lot, or mowed it, or helped take care of things.
Right.
Maybe had an opportunity to pay back taxes or whatever, but it was transferred to Habitat for Humanity, okay.
Yeah.
So, and during that program, was it mentioned about, did they want to keep things more urban, I mean, more residential there, or was there more commercial ideas going on
As far as
for
what the
those
city
empty
was-
lots?
The idea was to build more housing. here.
More housing?
Yes.
Correct. So, okay, thank you.
if I may, I know that in our conversations with Habitat for Humanity, I don't know the reason, but I know they had difficulty being able to build a home, and I don't know if that's because of funding or some other reason, but, they didn't think it was viable for them to be able to build.
So Habitat for Humanity builds houses?
Yes, I'm aware.
Homes?
Yeah.
And they were having problems building a home in
That particular lot,
that particular lot. Do we know why?
I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, that sounds odd, but
I know they ended
don't
up with a
understand what
lot
you're
of lots, and it may have been a matter that just they had
Too many, right?
too many, correct.
That's interesting. So, okay. Thank you.
The last point I would add, you know, as I say, you know, this is kind of the linchpin to us unlocking our investment here. If the variance is not approved, if there are city parcels that you think would lend themselves to us, you know, taking an easement from the city for that or from Richmond Power and Light, that's certainly something that we're open to discussion to. We hadn't gotten to a point to be able to have that conversation with anyone, but given how far down the road we are now, you know, certainly our preference would be to move forward here. But we want to work with the city to do what's best. And you know, just welcome your input on whether it's the design here or another location within the city.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we'll open up the floor for public hearing. Is there anybody that wishes to speak in favor of this petition? Is there anybody that wishes to speak in opposition? We're going to close public hearing. I'm going to kind of go outside the bounds, and Kim's might yell at me, but the way this is presented right now tonight, I have to vote no. There's a lot of reasons why, but the majority of my reasoning is there is no hardship. It is based on your economics. It's based on your profitability. I could be swayed if there was maybe a little bit more thought process put into what you've presented us on, rather than us coming back with written commitments and everything, they're already in your plan. Whether it's fencing, whether it's putting it all together in a building, whether it's, you know, bushes, moving it back off the street like Kelly has recommended. That's where I'm at personally. So, but with that, there's no other comments or critiques. We can open it up to a motion unless somebody else has other things they want to say.
Do the staff report.
Well, we got to do that too, I guess, to make it legal. See, I told you she was going to yell at me.
I would like him to do the staff report though, so I'm not gonna yell.
So are you going to do
He doesn't yell.
6 and then vote and then 7 and then vote, or?
I think, depending on the outcome of 6, I think it would be the petitioner's decision whether to move forward with 7 or 8.
Yeah, the decision could be for the petitioner. And I would also, if they do want to move forward, I would want to reopen the floor for the other 2 positions, just in case there's somebody in the audience who didn't come up for this one, but maybe wants to talk about the other 2. So I just want to cover all the bases.
Sure.
I'll just do BZA 6 right now. So BZA 6 is the petition of Good News Habitat for Humanity. The owner, Tommy Smith, is the agent, located at 404 South 12th Street in Richmond, requesting a variance of use to allow an above-ground utility structure in the urban residential district. Current use is vacant lot, zoning is urban residential, and the lot is 0.193 acres. Adjacent zoning in all directions is urban residential, and adjacent land use in all directions are single and multifamily residential. The proposed variance would allow an above-ground utility structure in a residential area. A little bit of background, the property was platted as a residential subdivision in 1865. Historical imagery and Sanborn maps show that there was a house located on this property dating back to at least 1901, and then that house was demolished in either 2020 or 2021. On April 30th, the public hearing was advertised in Western Wayne News. And on May 1st, 42 adjacent property owners were notified about the variance and public hearing by mail. We sent out notices for 6, 7, and 8 as a single letter. And I think we got a couple responses.
We just received one in opposition, no comments.
Okay. Planning staff consulted with all city departments and utilities to determine any objections based on public health and safety. No health and safety objections were raised. Staff recommends denying the petition to allow an above-ground utility structure to be built in the urban residential zoning district based on the following findings of fact. Number 1, the approval of the variance will be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. because the proposed above-ground utility structure is within the urban residential district, and based on current zoning regulations, this type of structure is not a permitted use, particularly among residential lots. The proposed structure of a 504 square foot structure on an 8,407 square foot lot will be disproportionately small. Its size and appearance could negatively impact the character of the neighborhood and may raise safety and security concerns for adjacent properties and residents. Furthermore, the structure will utilize a generator with an underbelly that will contain 639 gallons of diesel fuel that will power up during power outages that will raise safety and security concerns. Given the area's existing challenges with vandalism, trespassing, and homelessness, introducing a conspicuous structure of this nature could exacerbate these issues and draw unwanted attention. Number two, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will be affected in a substantially adverse manner because regarding the placement of the proposed above-ground utility structure, its construction on the designated residential lot may have a considerably negative impact on the surrounding neighborhood. This lot is currently situated among single and multifamily homes, and an above-ground utility structure would likely be an unaesthetic addition to the area. This could potentially affect the visual appeal for residents and those passing by, possibly leading to inquiries and concerns and possible vandalism. Number three, the need for the variance does not arise from some condition peculiar to the property involved because the petitioner has not demonstrated any conditions peculiar to the lot that would prevent the development of a residential structure. The lot's shape and dimensions are identical to or even larger than the surrounding residential lots. Despite its current vacancy, the property can still house a residential structure that conforms to urban residential zoning standards as it has for 120 years previously. Number four, the strict application of the terms of the ordinance will not constitute an unnecessary hardship if applied to the property, because it is important to note that the property in question is currently zoned as urban residential and can house a 900 square foot buildable residential lot. Number five, the approval does interfere substantially with the Richmond Rising Community Action Plan because the Richmond Rising Comprehensive Plan identified 6 key challenges for the city based on data and public feedback. One of these challenges concerns the city's capacity to deliver better housing options to support economic development while also planning for future needs, and this is a buildable lot. This property is located in a central neighborhood, which is in the Comprehensive Plan's future land use map, and the appropriate land use attributes for the designation include single-family detached homes as the primary housing type, strategic integration of single-family attached units like townhomes alongside detached units, apartment buildings and other multifamily units located at block ends or neighborhood district edges to facilitate a transition from residential to higher density areas, well-maintained accessory units, public and semi-public facilities such as schools, fire stations, and religious institutions, and public parks and open spaces to ensure neighborhood access to interaction and recreation areas. The proposed use is not compatible with the comprehensive plan's vision for this neighborhood. There are 3 written commitments. The first is just that approval of BZA 6 2025 is contingent upon the approval of BZA 7 and 8. Number 2, the proposed use must adhere to the UDO Article 5.67B's requirements to prevent public nuisances, including those related to noise, vibrations, odor, heat, and glare. And number 3, if approved, the subject property must meet UDO Article 5.441A and 2A regarding residential landscaping standards, which is at minimum 1 canopy tree and 3 shrubs. I'd be happy to take any questions that you might have.
I have a question. You said you had one response that was negative? Do we have the address for that person, that response?
Oh, it was a no address.
A no address, okay,
We brought it into the.
great, thank you,
Sorry.
thank you.
Any other questions to staff? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for BZA 6-2025.
I'll make a motion to approve the written commitments and finding the facts based on the staff report.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve BZA 6-2025 based on the written commitments and findings of fact. Call the roll, please.
Kelly Cruz Nicholson,
Aye.
Jeff Cook,
No.
Nathan Sheets.
No.
Rob Tidrow.
No.
The petition fails. How do you want to proceed? If you would come back up for me, please. How would you like to proceed on BZA 7 and 8?
I think that's a moot point.
I agree, but I have to ask.
Yeah, I think, I don't know what my options are. Do I table those? Do I not, do we not
Withdraw.
proceed?
You could withdraw those if you want.
Yeah, then I so withdrawn.
And as a matter of housekeeping, I do like to announce to the petitioners that in this case, under Indiana Code 36-7-4, there is a 30-day appeal period to the Wayne County court system if you want to appeal this denial. I believe it's called a petition for judicial review.
I guess, point of clarification, the other variance is if this applies only to this property, so there's no point, there's no point in me going forward to trying to get those approved that would then apply to another property.
Correct. It only,
It only applies.
it's property specific.
Then in that case, we would withdraw.
Thank you.
So, looking at the agenda, BZA 6 was denied, 7 and 8 was withdrawn. We tabled BZA 9, so now we're here to, next on the agenda, which is BZA 10-2025, Mark and Tammy Conyer. I hope I did, Coiner? If you would, come to the mic, state your name, address, and tell us about your petition, please.
You can speak into the microphone so it's recorded.
Okay, I will.
Thank you.
I'm Tammy Coiner, my husband Mark. We are, we're basically, I do have pictures. I gave some to Joanne and, pardon?
Your name, will you please state your address?
Mark Coiner and Tammy Coiner, residents at 844 West Main Street, Richmond, Indiana.
Use your license. Okay, our thing is, we put up a privacy fence. We retired. I do have pictures. I do have the same thing that I'm going to read if you guys want them. I don't know if she made some.
We have
We have pictures.
yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay, sorry. Okay. I wish to bring the attention and situation that seems to be an issue of little or no importance considering there are numerous exemptions within the boundaries of the city limits of Richmond. The alleged violation is a 6-foot fence that was installed on and within the boundaries of our property. The same fence which does not cause grief or distress to our adjoining neighbors. Okay, so justification for the 6-foot fence include but not limited to the following: safety and security, the homeless and drug addicts traveling through our property, and others by foot, animals of various sizes and varieties enter and do damage to our property. The wooden fence is 6 foot in height. We took it from the back of the house, and it's our whole property, from the front of the house side. There is no blockage, or you can still see the viewing all the way down. But it's like it shows, it goes all the way back to our garage. Here, you want to read? I'm getting nervous.
If you could please return back to the,
Here's the pictures.
there. As you see the fence coming off the sides of the front of the house, they are flush with the house. They do not extend forward past the face of the house. And then it does go back to the garage. It's 3 feet shorter on the east side than it is the west side due to the fact that where the garage is at and where the walk-in door is on the garage itself.
Here's our pictures.
Yeah, and it dies there. I included the walk-in door with the fence. The other side just runs in flush to the end of the garage. We have had folks that were using, they would come through the yard to get. from
They're on the
front
next
of
pictures
house-
to come.
From the front of the house to the back. And it's all enclosed.
That shows a picture of 9th Street, where they would come out of the alley by Graham's, the old Graham's, and then they just come straight down, they'll cross the street, and they just cut through to get to that alley behind us. Then there's a house behind us, down a little ways. They cut on through that part, but I'm not concerned about them. Drug addicts, homeless, all hours of the night. We've had things stolen out of the yard. I'm not reading on down, I'm just talking. We do have locks on both the gates. We have had things stolen out of our backyard, chairs. Animals, we've had trouble with. The neighbors just let their animals out to go do their business in our backyard, and then they go home. Our bedroom window is on picture 6, and when they would just come down through the yard, right there was our window, and we would see shadows going past our window, going in between our house and the one on our neighbors. Our shed has tried to been broken into. We do have privacy or motion lights on pictures 6 that will shine. We have one on above the kitchen window, one above the back bedroom that shines on the shed. They tore down the one that shines on the shed because they wanted to get into the shed. Well, we got tired of replacing the lights, so we just ended up going ahead and we put up our fence. It's nicely done. We just painted it. Safety reasons, I feel safe. We don't have the animals in our backyard doing their business. We don't have people walking. I had a guy one time coming down on picture, he was beside on our sidewalk, by our side door. I don't see the, oh, okay, it's on picture number 6, or number 5, I don't have my glasses on. And he was carrying a ladder. And we're sitting on the porch, and this guy is coming down our sidewalk, and I looked at him and said, "What are you doing?" He says, "Well, I'm going over there." But he was cutting through our yard with carrying a ladder. And I thought, okay. So he went on, and I thought, oh my gosh. But we really love it. We don't block any views. Both sides of our neighbors could care less because they like the privacy. We're not hurting anybody.
If I may say, we have neighbors
Oh, yeah,
here
these
with
guys.
us this evening. And they know that what we're telling is true. We're 66 years old. She's disabled with COPD and doesn't get around real fast very much. I'm a disabled American vet. I was in 6 years in the Marine Corps. And disabled, go to Dayton VA. But we haven't had no complaints. And like I say, we do not block the view with anybody. And the one that is complaining is not a direct neighbor. They're down from us a couple houses.
They're the ones that stole my chairs out of my backyard. They're sitting on their front porch. They were
But,
confronted and they told me to prove it.
2 questions.
We feel safe, and to the best of my knowledge, as these young ladies could tell you, there has not been that first complaint openly. What has been done secretly.
And it looks nice.
It does look nice.
It's not trashy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice. Like I said, we don't have any complaints on either neighbor because they like the privacy too. In the front view, you can, as you see in the one picture, we have not blocked anybody's view going down the street, standing on their front porch, or at the side of the house.
Garage that was built, we built the garage, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
2 years ago, we had it built by the Amish. It's a metal garage, it's a pole barn garage, it's 24 by 24. Has 2 white, it's a pewter, gray pewter garage. You trimmed in white. We tried to decorate it up and make it look nice, and it was a big boost to the value of the home. And we liked it. Then we moved the shed up from the alley to make room for the garage, and we've tried to doll it up a little bit. I've done all the concrete work on the house myself, and that was done a few years ago, and just tried to fix it up, try to keep what we've worked hard for.
But we don't have any more problems about people cutting through the yard.
No,
And,
that
you know,
stopped.
I can open up windows, leave them open. Coming in 'em.
Thank you. Any questions to the petitioners?
Mr. President, I have 2 questions and 1 clarification.
Sure.
Okay, so the fence is already built, correct?
Yes, sir.
Right. And it's 6 foot tall right now,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, sir.
If it's 4 feet tall, we wouldn't be having this conversation, correct? Okay. Second question is, or third or whatever, it's on your property, correct? It's not encroaching on anyone else's
No,
property?
No,
like-
sir.
It's
So
like
it's
this far inside on our property.
Yeah.
So the question, someone had a problem with being 6 feet tall as opposed to being 4 feet. Yeah. Okay. It's nobody else's business if you build a 4-foot fence, really, right? But you build a 6 foot, so you're asking for a variance of that. Right, right. Thank you.
And that would only apply to the side and the front, correct?
Front and side.
In the backyard, they could have 6 foot.
Correct.
And it's
Yes.
only on the side. It's not even in the front. It's just the side.
The 6-foot portion is only on the side?
Yeah.
Okay.
So technically by the
Technically,
code, yeah,
where
the
it turns to
backyard.
the front of the house, it's in the front yard
Correct.
by the way everything works.
Okay.
Any other questions
Thank you.
to the petitioners?
Just curious, when you went forward with building the fence, did you know of this requirement?
No, sir.
Not until the other neighbors down the street like to complain. They had to, it's a long story with the neighbors down the street. But there's a lot of jealousy with our property. We retired and we have put a lot of money inside and out on that property. But it's our retirement home. We live there.
Looks good.
It's nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Proud of it.
You should be.
Yes.
If you would, have a seat and we'll open up to public hearing.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Yes, thank
You're
you.
welcome. We'll open public hearing for anybody that wants to speak in favor or opposition to BZA 10-2025. Please come to the mic, state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Vicki Rash. My address is 843 Northwest A Street. I live directly behind them. I've been there now almost 2 years. They are the kindest, the neatest people I have ever met. They came to me, they introduced themselves. Their garage, their property is immaculate. I went down the street, got the notice. Of course, I knew them just because they're directly behind me. So I really hadn't paid a lot of attention to the front of their home, other than when I drove by, I thought their flowers are gorgeous. So I made an attempt after I got the notice to just really observe all the houses on that street. And theirs is by far the neatest. They painted that fence that is directly, on their property, a beautiful gray. It's just jealousy is all I can see, because it is very attractive. And they work every day outside in that yard. His yard is mowed perfectly. I just don't think there's any reason to have them modify that fence at all. I wish my property was that neat, honestly. I just don't have his energy. He's a little younger than I am, but I'm proud of them and happy that they're my neighbor.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Please.
My name is Carol Wilkie. I live at 900 Northwest A, and I've been in the neighborhood since 1973. And these are the type of neighbors you want to relocate into your neighborhoods. They fix up, not tear up. And this person that's arguing with them, she left the neighborhood for like 5-6 years ago, and now she's come back and she's trying to stir a pot. And these people have done nothing out of line. I mean, they've had the zoning people come out and tell them, or they've checked how high they could have their fences and stuff, and even they've just added to the neighborhood. That's just my concern. That's the type of neighbor I want moving back in our neighborhood on the west side.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak? If not, we'll close public hearing. Here's staff report.
Thank you, Mr. President. BZA 10 is the petition of Mark and Tammy Coiner, owner and agent, located at 844 West Main Street in Richmond, requesting a variance of development standards to exceed maximum front and side yard fence height standards in the high-density single-family residential district. Current use is single-family residential. Zoning is high-density single-family residential. The lot is 0.127 acres. Adjacent zoning in all directions is high-density single-family residential, and adjacent land use in all directions is single-family residential. The proposed variance would allow a residential fence to exceed the maximum height standard of 4 feet for fences in front yards. If approved, the variance would allow the applicant to increase the front yard's fence height from 4 to 6 feet. The owners are requesting the variance in order to provide additional safety and privacy to the property. On April 30th, the public hearing was advertised in Western Wayne News. On May 1st, 44 adjacent property owners were notified about the variance and public hearing by mail.
We received 3 in favor, no comments.
Planning staff consulted with all city departments and utilities to determine any objections based on public health and safety. No objections were raised. Staff recommends approving the petition to exceed maximum fence height standards in the high-density single-family residential district based on the following findings of fact. Number 1, the approval of the variance will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community because the proposed 6-foot fence does not encroach beyond the front of the house. The fence will help keep the owner's property safe from unwanted foot traffic, animals, and theft, and will not cause unintended consequences to immediate residences in the greater community. Number 2, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner because the 6-foot fence will increase privacy for both the subject property and adjacent properties. Number 3, the strict application of the terms of the ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property because due to the density of the neighborhood, the considerable foot traffic experienced at all hours, and recent incidents of personal property theft, adhering to the current 4-foot fence height would create an unnecessary hardship. And I'd be happy to, there are no rent commitments, and I'd be happy to address any questions.
Any questions of staff? Hearing no questions, I'll entertain a motion for BZA 10.
I'll make a motion to approve BZA 10-2025 based on staff report
And findings.
and findings of facts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve BZA 10-2025 based on the staff report and findings of fact. Call the roll, please.
Kelly Cruz Nicholson,
Aye.
Jeff Cook,
Aye.
Nathan Sheets,
Aye.
Rob Tidrow.
Aye.
Petition passes.
Very nice property.
Filing deadline for today's meeting was April the 16th, 2025. The filing deadline for next month's June 11th, 2025 is today. You have any cases for next month?
We'll have, I assume, BZA 9, and then I think one
Yeah.
or two others.
Okay. So we will be back on the 11th. With that, I'll hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
You are watching Whitewater Government Television, WGTV, Channel 11, part of the Whitewater Community Television family of stations.